Hey everybody! So today is going to be like a really highly requested video because a lot of people are really interested in hearing about my personal experience with the procedures and surgeries that I've had that are like related to CP, and a lot of people are very interested in that, and I think I've talked about them a couple of times in like question and answers video. But there's a lot of people that are new to watching my videos that really want to hear about it and hear all about my CP. So if you're new, I have spastic diplegia, and so that basically means that just like my hips and below are affected. I can walk perfectly fine. I use a cane sometimes, and yeah, so that's just a little background. As far as like procedures and surgeries go, I was gonna actually like show you like the scars on my legs and my feet, or on my foot, so that you guys could kind of like see it physically, like where things happened, but I just got a text. But it's way too cold this morning to be wearing shorts, and that's why I would have to wear to show you guys the scars. So I am just going to explain it to you, and I might insert like a clip of maybe like a diagram of kind of where the procedures happened, but so I'm just going to explain it to you for now. So when I was about, I think, 8, I started getting Botox, and a lot of people like get confused when I tell them I've had Botox because that they think like it's like in the face, like reconstructing your nose and your cheeks and your lips and stuff. But basically, Botox injections are used to help like loosen your muscles. So I got Botox in my quads, hamstrings, and calves. So that's where I got them, and I counted properly. I think I've gotten Botox 4 times, and they seemed to work a little bit when I first started getting them, but as I kept getting the treatment, it just didn't seem to show like super great improvement, and I also had a lot of really traumatizing experiences with it because they gave me medication that it's not anesthesia, it just makes you really loopy and you forget what happened so that you're not scared the next time to do the same procedure. But I was really overweight at that time, so the amount of that medication that they gave me was not enough for my body to process and actually have the medication work. So I actually did remember the procedures, and it was just like so painful, lots of needles and stuff. I think after two of the Botox procedures were super like intense, and 2 of them weren't, and so I think I had casts on after 2 of the procedures. I remember 2 of the procedures, and I don't remember the first 2 because the medicine worked for the first 2. But yeah, so that's like the first kind of procedure that I ever got, and that was at Shriners Hospital here in Portland. So just in case you're wondering, I am a patient at Shriners, and that's where all of this stuff happened. Like, I am so thankful for that. And then when I was 12 years old, which was the summer after my sixth grade, yeah, I was 12, I had surgery on my birthday, which was so sad. Like, who wants to have surgery on their birthday? But this was like the biggest thing, so this is going to take a while to explain. But what they did was they went into my quad muscles, my hamstring muscles, my inner hip muscles, and my groin, and they make incisions in the muscle to lengthen it, and that helps release a lot of the tightness and the tension that you get because of spasticity, which is like one of the main symptoms of cerebral palsy. So they did that, and they were contemplating going back and forth because lengthening your muscles is actually kind of dangerous to the nerves, because if you lengthen the muscle, the nerve has to lengthen with it, and that's really dangerous to like stretch your nerves. So they were actually going to cut and shorten my left femur, which is like the one by the hamstrings, the big long upper leg bone, but they didn't do that. And because they didn't do that, I got severe nerve damage in my left leg. So that was like, and I'm sorry if I can't recall a lot of the stuff, but I actually went into a severe depression for about, I think, like 5 months maybe after that. I gained so much weight. I am just kind of going off what other people said my experience was like, but medically, the nerve damage started like somewhere up in my thigh, and they didn't even know that it was nerve damage. They thought I was just being a wimp and being in, like, crying too much because it was painful when it shouldn't have been that painful and stuff like that. So they had me through a lot of rehab, and it was so excruciating, and the rehab actually stretched my nerve even more, which made the nerve damage so much worse. And I don't even remember any of this, but I think I spent a week and a half longer in the Shriners Hospital than I was supposed to. I went home. They were thinking I'm just like recovering a little bit slower than most people. And then I realized that the pain was getting so much worse, or not better really, and it was only in my left foot and my left leg, so it was kind of weird. So I went back up there. I stayed there for like a week, I think, just doing more rehab. That's what they thought. I just needed more rehab and stuff, and that didn't work. So I ended up going to Emmanuel Hospital. Oh shoot, I can't. There's a certain name. There's another name that goes along with it, but Emmanuel is like rehabilitation for a lot of different things, and it's not really connected to the Shriners, but they put me through 2 weeks of rehabilitation, and that's when they decided to test that it was for nerve damage. So the doctor at Emmanuel took these really, really long needles, and I'm sorry, just skip over this part if you're really sensitive to needles and visual stuff like this, but they took needles that were like really long and really, really thick, and they put them, there was like something connected to it so they could like monitor the nerve activity in my leg, and they would insert it almost like 3/4 of the way through my thigh to see where the nerve damage was, and in the end that didn't really do anything or solve any problems because they were just, I guess, trying to figure out where the nerve damage was. I'm not really sure, but so that was miserable. I actually remember that, and a lot of the things that I don't remember, I'm glad I don't remember because they were very traumatic, but I remember that, and I don't think I'll ever forget it. It was very painful. So I stayed at Emmanuel for 2 weeks, and the rehabilitation that I went through there was called desensitization, which is when they take different textures and stuff, and they just rub your wherever you have damage to try and get it to back to normal, I guess. So they took a sponge, they took so many different textures up against the bottom of my foot because that's where I felt the nerve damage. It was numb for a really long time, and then when they started to do it, I was miserable. Even just taking even slightly cold water or slightly warm water was so scary. Like, it hurt really bad. The feeling that I can remember the most is it felt like it was super, my foot was like asleep or something, but it was painful, so it felt like there were needles just poking everywhere on the bottom of my foot and the tips of my toes. I hear a little kid crying, and I'm in a college dorm room. That's kind of weird. But anyway, so I did that for 2 weeks, and it was just rehab. I was miserable. I don't really remember it, which I guess I'm kind of thankful for, but I went into deep depression, like I said, and it was terrible. Okay, and then I'm going to move on to the last surgery that I had, which was not this last, like, 2013 summer, but 2012. I had surgery on my left foot to kind of correct the bunion and the placement of my foot. So basically what they did was they repositioned my foot on to my leg so that it was more aligned and it wouldn't, like, kind of tilt onto my leg a little bit because I was kind of off balance because of it. And I also had a huge bunion problem. Like my big toe went completely, if you're looking at a hand like this, imagine this is my big toe. It went completely under all of my other toes. So that had a lot of problems for me finding shoes. I would trip a lot with shoes or without shoes because I would just be like, my toe was caught underneath there. So they did surgery, and I can put an before and after picture in here because it's a huge difference. And then they also lengthened the tendons or the muscles, I can't remember which one, in 2 of my toes. To kind of flatten my foot a little bit more. They didn't do it in all of my toes because they thought that my feet use my toes for traction, so like my toes kind of grab, just automatically grab the ground, and that's how they kind of hold on to the ground rather than just being flat-footed. So they only did it on 2 because what if I might not be able to like grab the ground with my toes anymore if all of them were flat. So that was the last surgery, and that was a lot better recovery. I had a cast on that leg for, I think, about 3 months. Yeah, that sounds about right. Maybe a little shorter, which is really good. So that's about all of the stuff that I've had. Thank you guys for your interest in all this kind of stuff. I would love to hear what other people have gotten because, like, you know, I might have never heard of anything, and that might help me. So let me know what you've had to kind of treat or help your CP a little bit. Thank you guys for watching. Also, all of my contact info will be below. So many people have been reaching out to me on Facebook, and I love that. It's so much fun. If you do contact me on Facebook, don't just add me as a friend. Send me a message saying, hey, I watched your video, or I'm a subscriber to your channel, or whatever, and because I have CP or anything like that. Just send me a message so I know why you're adding me, because I'm a little bit paranoid about the internet. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Peace out.